time.
Hello.
Good morning. Last time we recorded, Elysia says something about how it doesn't matter if it's morning or afternoon because people don't listen at the same time. So good time. I'm Savannah.
And I'm Elysia.
And this is Burden of Proof.
Good time.
Good time.
Hope everyone's having a good time.
I hope whatever time it is, it's a good one.
Yes. All right.
All right.
Do we have business?
I don't even know when this episode is coming out. I can't keep track of our calendar anymore. It's so busy. You guys should see with all of the promos that we're doing, our Google Calendar, our Gcal is so hard to read. So I don't know when this is coming out. So if we had business,
I think the only thing is shout out to a couple of our regular listeners.
Yeah.
Another one to Renee.
Yes.
And to Sally.
Yes, always to
both,
Sally. Yes, they commented on our Instagram post.
Commented about Blondie.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And to Dana for commenting as well. We appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. She had good
always
commentary.
Does. Always does.
Good commentary. Not about Blondie, but actually the case. It was good. All righty. Well, then we can just jump in.
Woohoo!
Are you ready?
I am, because I've never heard of this case. Maybe I have. I don't. We'll see the further.
I don't know how huge it was. I knew about it because it happened near and around my hometown,
Ohio.
In Ohio. So be ready to be angry. Just saying.
Okay, I need some warning. Like, what kind of angry? Is this like a political case? Is it like...
No.
Just, this is ridiculous?
No, it's ridiculous.
Okay, all right. All right, I can handle that kind of anger today.
He's ick. Like, you're going to get ick.
Yeah, okay.
Today, we're discussing Bobby Lee Cutts Jr.
Does he cuts?
No. He strangles.
Okay. Well, he missed an opportunity.
Well, actually, we don't know for sure. So I shouldn't say that.
Allegedly, he strangles.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
He strangles.
If you watch Letterkenny, you'll know allegedly.
That's right. Allegedly. All right. Bobby Lee Cutts Jr. was born May 21st, 1977, and grew up in Canton, Ohio, where he attended Glen Oak High School.
If you watch Dance Moms, Canton is where the Candy Apples Dance Center is.
Oh, I did not. I don't watch Dance Moms. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh, fascinating.
That's where the rival of the Abbey Lee Dance Company lives, Kathy.
Oh, okay.
She's from Canton.
Yes. All right. So that high school, Glen Oak High School, may sound familiar to some of you. It's the alma mater to a few professional athletes who I don't know nothing about sports, so I'm not naming them. But it's actually most famous for its graduate, Mr. Brian Hugh Warner, otherwise known as Marilyn Manson. So they turn out some real good ones from that school.
Really?
No, I lived near there, so I have met a few people from Glen Oak High School that are nice people. They don't all turn out like Marilyn Manson or killers.
I just can't take Manson seriously because of how tiny he is.
He's interesting.
He's a wee little man.
Is he?
Yes, I think he's only like 5'2". Hold on.
I thought he was tall.
How tall is Marilyn? Oh, Marilyn Manson. That's not
Marilyn Manson.
I'm thinking of Charles Manson. I'm like, this is a true crime podcast. We're talking about Charles Manson.
I'm talking about Marilyn Manson, goth,
Charles
extraordinaire, and sex offender, allegedly.
Charles Manson is 5'2".
Yes.
He is a wee little man.
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
Yes. When you said that, and I'm talking about Marilyn Manson.
He's 6'1".
I was like, really? He seemed tall to me.
No,
not that I've ever seen him in
tall.
person, but.
He is tall.
All right.
Apologies for the confusion.
It's fine. Okay. So now back to Bobby, the subject at hand. Bobby was on the football team at Glen Oak and rather serious about it. Despite not getting drafted or following a scholarship to college, he continued to play through semi-professional teams while simultaneously pursuing a career in law enforcement.
Oh, yay.
I told you. Be ready to be mad.
I always love when killers turn out to like have wanted to be cops.
Oh, he was a cop.
Oh, great.
Apparently, Bobby's career and side hustle with football wasn't enough to fill his time, though, because he was quite the ladies' man as well. First to become a father in 1997 at just 20 years old when his ex-girlfriend, Nikki Giavasis, if you know that name.
I don't.
Some of you may know her as a former NFL cheerleader, social media influencer, and actress. She gave birth to their daughter, Taylor Giavasis, who is now also a social media influencer. Bobby's second child, Brianna, was born in 2001 to his girlfriend at the time, Kelly Schaub. He and Kelly then got married in July, just a few months after Brianna was born, but the wedding bliss was relatively short-lived. They separated in November of 2003 when Bobby suddenly faced criminal charges for allegedly giving his department-issued gun to his drug-dealing cousin.
Now, why in the world?
He was eventually acquitted of the charges, and the Canton Police Department were ordered to reinstate him with back pay, but the damage to his marriage was even more extensive. Because while separated, Bobby began an affair with Jessie Davis, and she became pregnant with his third child.
Was she also an influencer? Because I feel like everybody's influencers.
No, just his first
wife
girlfriend,
and
the first baby mama, and his first daughter are both influencers. Everybody else is normal people living around the Canton area.
All right.
Nikki and Taylor moved to California.
To be influencers.
To pursue influencing in the influencing world.
In the influencer industry.
Yes. Despite having a son on the way with Jessie, Bobby and Kelly reconciled in September of 2004.
Okay.
Blake Cutts was then born in December of 2004, and Bobby not only co-parented, but he continued his affair with Jessie.
Okay, I had to look up a picture of him.
Okay.
I now know what he looks like.
Okay. Kelly and Jessie, so his wife, Kelly, and his girlfriend, Jessie, talked several times over the next 2 years about their relationships with Bobby. Kelly claims she would tell Jessie that she and Bobby were happily married and to leave them alone. Okay?
Okay.
Now be ready. I'm about to go on a little bit of, you might call it a rant. You might just consider it a PSA.
All right.
Do with it what you will. For me, this is a tricky situation. I in no way want to shame either of these women. But, y'all, if your significant other is cheating on you, hold him or her accountable. Please. I cannot stand to hear stories about women fighting over a man. Sis, he's the one who owes you something, not her.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are the other woman, have some self-respect and walk away.
Yeah. I always look at it and I'm like, really? Over this guy?
I know. It's never anybody.
What are we dealing with here?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's his fault.
Yeah, he's the one married to you.
Yeah.
It's his responsibility to stay faithful to you. But also, if you are the other woman, like, please, 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 don't think, oh, he's just so unhappy with her, and if he would just leave her and then be with me, then he would be happy. I would keep him happy. First of all, in many cases, there's a reason that he or she, like I said, they're staying with their spouse. There's a reason, whatever that reason may be. Doesn't really matter. But even if they did leave their spouse and take up with you, Beauty and the Beast is actually not the tale as old as time.
Yeah.
It's not. The tale as old as time is when you cheat with somebody and they leave their other person for you. And then guess what?
The grass isn't greener.
They're going to start cheating on you too.
Yeah. If they cheated on you or on their spouse to get with you, They're going to cheat on you to get with somebody else. It's going to happen.
Okay, moving on. In 2006, Jessie informed Kelly that she was pregnant again. This time, it was a girl to be named Chloe.
I love that name.
At some point shortly after that, I believe, based on what I was able to gather, that Bobby and Kelly separated again. It appeared that he was living on his own, Kelly's living on her own, but he didn't move in with Jessie.
Okay.
He's just by himself, except not.
Yeah.
In June of 2007, Jessie was nearly full term with Chloe. Bobby was juggling her and at least 3 other women and trying to reconcile with Kelly.
Okay. Like, how do you have the time? That's what I never understand.
I know,
like,
and he works full-time as a cop and plays semi-professional football.
I can't even answer, like, I can't even answer your text fast enough. Like,
I know.
I'm not juggling that. I don't have kids. I just have dogs. I'm just sitting there and it takes me 3 hours to answer a text sometimes because I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Everything's just so busy.
So, on the evening of June 13th, he played softball and then headed to Champ Sports Bar for drinks with friends, including Denise Hated, who he had previously had an affair with.
Who hasn't he slept with?
He left Champs around 12:30 a.m. and headed to Stephanie Hawthorne's home, one of the current girlfriends at the time. Bobby then left Stephanie's about 2 a.m. and claims that he then got up for the day just a few hours later at 5:20 a.m.
Do you think he ever like showed up to the wrong girl's house? Oops, sorry, my Google Calendar was full and hard to read. Like,
oopsie, blame it on Google. At around 5:45, he says that he arrived at Jessie's home to pick up Blake, and he found Jessie on the bedroom floor.
I don't think she was stretching or sleeping.
Well, no. But she was still alive.
Oh.
Yes. He claims that when he asked if she was all right or in labor, she told him she's tired and nauseous.
Oh, okay.
Now, just to give you a timeline, like, she was, when I say she was nearly full term, this is the middle of June. This is like June 14th. She was due the first week in July.
Okay.
So she is literally like ready to pop.
Yeah.
So
that's
yeah,
really
that's
a really uncomfortable portion
Yes.
of pregnancy. Like, you just need to lay on the floor. I get it, girl.
Yes. Being the gentleman that he was, he then asked her to get Blake ready and grew impatient when she didn't get up fast enough. Like, he admits that that's what transpired.
Don't worry, Blake. You're a 9-month-old pregnant mother.
She'll get right on that.
She'll get right on it. I'm just going to sit here.
Okay, so Bobby also tells police, eventually, that he could tell she was struggling, but that he pushed her to hurry up because he wanted to get home and get more sleep. He had a very busy night of drinking and girlfriending.
I don't think at
to put it nicely.
I don't think at 9 months she's getting much sleep either.
No, not at all. So he claims that Jessie told him that if he weren't out with friends all night, then he wouldn't be rushing her. True.
Period.
Bobby responded that it wasn't her concern and that if it's a problem, he could just take Blake over the weekend. He claims he tried to turn to leave, but Jessie stepped in front of him, grabbing his shirt, and when he attempted to pull away and step around her, she moved in front of him again. She supposedly told him he cannot leave because she needed him to take Blake so that she could go to work. Bobby claims that he told her he could leave as long as he could get her out of the way. And he stuck his finger up his nose and put it in her face, to which Jessie then bit his finger.
Charlie bit my finger. I'm just trying to process this grown man I don't even want to say it again. I don't even want to say it again.
Yes. He says that he then got a bit angry, of course, and said he was definitely leaving and that he didn't care if she had to go to work. But When he tried to step around her again, she grabbed him tighter, and in an effort to free himself, he threw his elbow back, accidentally hitting her in the throat.
Yeah. I just did it. You can't see.
Yes. Bobby swears he kept walking toward the door and then heard her fall. And when he turned around, she was on the floor and unresponsive.
Let me guess. She randomly had fingerprints on either side of her neck as well. And you don't know where those came from.
We'll get there.
She's doing a little eye rolling like, I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. So he claims that he attempted CPR, but she was still unresponsive. So he got some bleach he saw nearby, poured some into the cap, and placed it under her nose to revive her.
Like smelling salts?
Yeah. I'll try not to laugh.
We're trying to. We're having to
this.
laugh because this is a 9-month pregnant woman.
Yes.
That we're talking about here. Like, I don't want to diminish the value of.
And I'm partially laughing because of what comes next.
Oh, God.
Okay. At no time did he call 911, which he claims was because he was unable to turn Jessie's cell phone on. And though he had not one, but 2 cell phones in his own truck.
One for the bitches and one for the hoes.
Probably. He didn't think about going out to his truck and getting one of those to call. Again, I will remind you, this man is a police officer.
And this woman is pregnant with his daughter. Not to mention, this is also a woman that you've known and have had relationships with for a really long time.
2 years.
And
yeah, their
you
son
should
is 2 at this point.
Care about her. Ironically, we're recording this on Mother's Day.
Oh, no. I didn't even think about that. Yes, we are. Happy Mother's Day.
This is horrible.
Happy belated Mother's Day to all you listening. So, Bobby explains away all the bleach stains on her carpet and the mattress being pushed off the box spring by the chaos of him panicking, knocking over the bottle of bleach, and then falling back on the bed because he knew he'd never be able to explain what happened. He claims Blake was still asleep, so he left him there while he went to get his longtime friend from middle school, Maisha Farrell, to watch Blake, supposedly. Except that he also decided to take Jessie's body with him, placing her in the back of his truck.
So we should clarify, she has passed away at this point.
Yes.
From an elbow to the throat.
According to him, yes.
I mean, what is there to say? I'm just going to let you keep going because I don't really think that there's
nothing. I mean, and it just gets...
This is horrible, and I'm trying not to cry.
Yes. So Bobby swears his intent for picking up Maisha was to take her back to Jessie's to have her watch Blake. But
how old is Blake at this point? Like 3 or 4?
2. He left a 2-year-old, even if the kid was asleep. Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. Now, the only possible reasoning that I could see him saying, well, I decided to take her body because I panicked and he had left his son. Why? Okay.
He didn't want the son.
Throw all logic out of the window. You don't want your son seeing his dead mother. Okay. But he's 2. You could have, why didn't you take your son
and not
to the friend to have her babysit him and then go back and deal with that? Just nothing. The math ain't mathin'.
Because he's not doing math.
No.
He's doing...
And it's about to get weirder.
Basketball. Never mind. That's so dumb.
Bobby swears his intent for picking up Maisha was to take her back to Jessie's to have her watch Blake. But when he arrived, he simply told her that he needed her to come with him. And as he drove, he realized he would have a difficult time explaining why he moved Jessie's body. So instead of taking the exit to Jessie's house, Bobby continued north on the interstate.
You know why you're going to have difficulty explaining it? Because it doesn't make sense.
At 7:10 a.m., he called Jessie's cell phone, but can't explain why. And he then exited the interstate to stop and let Maisha use a restroom. Once back on the interstate, he panicked when they were passed by a state trooper, so he claims he decided to exit and take the back roads from where they were back to Canton.
Okay.
So, this is where it gets fun for me because I know all of these places.
Yeah.
As an Akron, Ohio native who spent much of my upbringing in the Cuyahoga Falls area where Bobby found himself, let me tell you, there's literally only one way to do what he claims he was trying to do. And if you've never been in that area, you would have no idea how to do it. And even if you did know, you would also know that the one road that you could take from the Cuyahoga Falls area, there is no one road from Cuyahoga Falls down to Canton.
Mm-hmm.
It would be like, let me give you a Florida equivalent. It would be like trying to take a back road from just south of Tampa to here.
Yeah, you can't take a back road that way. You have to take the interstate.
Yes. Except here, in this case, there's one way you could have done it. He could have gone one town over from Cuyahoga Falls. He could have headed east.
Okay.
One town over, and there is a state route that goes from that area down into Canton. You end up traveling through 8 different cities or townships to do it.
But you can do it.
And it is a heavily, in many areas, it's a heavily patrolled road. So either way, you were going to pass cops. You were going to potentially be caught. So I say you're full of it.
Mm-hmm.
You did not get off the interstate to do that. Nevertheless, it's not surprising. He didn't know that one way to get from where he was to Canton. And he got lost. He drove around for about a half an hour before stopping at one of the many parks in the area where he decided to leave Jessie's body.
I don't know what to say because this is so infuriating. I don't understand how we got here.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you have your dad. I'm just going to call her his girlfriend. I know they're not together, but.
Oh, well, they were.
I mean, they were, but they weren't.
Yeah. They were. It's one of many girlfriends.
And your child.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how we're here.
In case anybody forgot, yeah. She's dead. Now her baby is too.
Yeah. Because, like, the baby is far enough along that if he had accidentally killed her and he's a police officer,
and he called 911, they would have delivered the baby to save the baby.
Yeah, the baby could have been removed. There could have been a C-section done, and the baby would be fine.
Yes.
So this is what I don't like. This wasn't.
I think that is the answer.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. That is the answer because it wasn't an accident. It can't have been an accident.
Well,
allegedly.
Yes. Allegedly. So. That's his version of events, okay? And he's sticking to it.
I don't like it, so it's not my reality. Thank you very much.
Now, Maisha Farrell's testimony of the events goes a little bit differently. She testified that she and a few girlfriends had spent the evening out, but then went back to her house and played cards all night into the early morning hours of June 14th, when they were interrupted by Bobby showing up sometime after 6 a.m. Maisha stated that Bobby said he needed her help, and she could tell something was wrong, but didn't know what. She still got into the truck with him. I mean, they've been friends since middle school, so she probably didn't expect that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I have friends that long that if they showed up and they were like, I need your help, I would drop everything and just go.
Yeah.
You know?
And you'd be like,
why is there a body?
Do I need to bring a shovel? No, I'm just kidding.
No.
So she said he did look very nervous, but after driving in silence for a bit, he told her something was wrong with the baby's mother, and she knew that he was referring to Jessie. Eventually, he told her that Jessie's body was in the back of the truck, and when she asked what happened, he gestured by raising his arm around his neck.
Like a chokehold.
That's all that I could get out of like the court records. So I don't know if it was like a chokehold or if he was trying to gesture that he hit her with his elbow. But why would he put his arm around? Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
if you're thinking about the logistics of this, just do the motion. Just put your arm, because she said she said he put his arm around his neck
by raising his arm around his neck.
So do that. Raise your arm around your neck.
Yeah.
And tell me if it looks like you're elbowing somebody in the neck or if you're strangling them.
Yeah. Maisha asked where Blake was, and Bobby said he was at the house, to which she assumed he meant his house.
Can you say that one more time? I'm sorry.
So his friend Maisha asked where Blake was, the son, the 2-year-old son, and Bobby told her that, oh, he's at the house.
Okay.
And she assumed that Bobby meant he was at his house. So she
didn't
thought,
question why they didn't get off.
Well, he never told her, oh, I'm taking you to babysit Blake.
Oh.
That's what he told police he was supposed to be doing with Maisha. But he never actually told her, hey, I need you to watch Blake. He just drove with her in the truck.
Okay.
So she assumed that, okay, Blake is at Bobby's house. Maybe somebody else is with him.
Well, yeah, that would be the assumption, and that the 2-year-old is not completely by himself.
She confirmed that they stopped so that she could use the restroom. That part lined up. But she says that once they were back on the road and passed a sign that read Cuyahoga Falls Parks is when he stopped. He stopped in an open field. Now, I know exactly what park they stopped at. I've been there. I've hiked there. It's a very popular hiking place. It's not like
that creepy.
These parks in the area are part of the Cuyahoga Valley. It's like a state park.
Yeah.
It's not, a park with a playground that you take your kids to.
I'm glad you clarified, because that's what I thought it was.
No, it's part of the Cuyahoga Valley area, so it's very different than here.
Yeah.
It's not all flat. It's good hiking spots. But there is that particular park. There is an open field, and then you have to like walk the trail up into where it's actually a hike, and you start climbing the hills and stuff.
Okay. I'm with you.
Into the woods, if you will.
I will start singing.
So, once he stops, they both exited the truck, and Maisha stated that she saw feet sticking out of white trash bags, and she could see a burgundy print through the bags, but she didn't look any further because she didn't want to see anything else.
She said, oh, and that's enough for me.
And she claimed that Bobby removed Jessie's body by himself and just walked away, and she stayed at the truck.
She's probably freaking the heck out in her mind. Like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my
and
God,
I
oh my
could,
God.
I'm not going to say this is impossible, but it is a little bit difficult for me to believe that he carried a 9-month pregnant woman.
He's a big dude.
In this park up where he would have had to have taken her, where he leaves her. It's hard for me to believe, there's no way to prove it. And I'm sure police couldn't prove it either. But
well, I wonder how much she weighed after her autopsy, because if she was a small girl and 9 months pregnant, he's a big dude.
That she was that small based on the pictures I've seen.
Okay. Well, let me look at my professional opinion, because I'm a professional. I bet he could have carried her. I think he probably could have, because yeah. I think he could have done it without help. Could have. I'm not saying it's likely.
Yeah.
But I think he probably could have. With adrenaline helping, I think he might have been able to.
Yeah. Like I said,
we won't know.
There's no way of knowing for sure.
But I see what you're saying. It could easily have been, it would have been easier with 2 people for sure.
Yes. But in any case, Maisha swears that she stayed at the truck. When Bobby returned to the truck, she said they drove back to Canton, but on the way stopped at a dumpster where Bobby disposed of the trash bags, and then at a gas station where he washed the truck and purchased bags of mulch, which he placed in the bed of the truck. Maisha also recalled that Bobby left a message for Jessie asking why she had never dropped off Blake. Now, he admitted that he called Jessie's cell phone because he knew that they're going to be able to
figure out you were there.
Yeah.
Because you were supposed to pick up Blake.
So he just swore that he didn't know why he called.
But he left a
Maisha
message.
says that he left a message.
Did they not find her phone and check her messages?
Well, we'll get to that. So
you're leaving me hanging.
Yeah. After he calls, he then handed Maisha a pink cell phone that she knew wasn't his. So she threw it out the truck window on the interstate. The two of them went to his house where he took a shower, and afterwards he asked if she could see any marks on his chest, which she stated were, quote, vague. And she noticed that he had an injury on his pinky finger, to which he told her Jessie had bit him. Bobby then gave Maisha $100 and said he wished he could give her more.
But if you just elbowed her in the neck, why would you have wounds on your chest?
Mm-hmm. Maisha stayed at Bobby's house that day while he then went on to football practice. And apparently, she never questioned, where's Blake? She had assumed that Blake was at his house, but then they went there and Blake's not there. And she still never questioned, like, well, where's your 2-year-old son? Who has him?
Do you think she just didn't want to ask any more questions because she didn't want to be any more involved? Because that I could kind of get where she's like, I'm just not going to ask, because if I ask, then I have to admit that I was a part of this.
But why would you stay there?
I don't know.
And I get, like, he drove her there, but then he left. Call somebody and be like, come pick me up.
Or call the police?
Yeah, something. I don't know, something. Well, when Bobby returned, he then took her home in the afternoon. The next day, Maisha got a call from Bobby stating that his baby's mom is missing. And she thought he was crazy because he said it like
he didn't know.
None of that happened.
She's like, did I dream that?
She went along when another one of their, quote, friends, I don't know who this person is, he's only mentioned in this moment.
Okay.
But this other guy comes and picks her up and drives her back to Bobby's house, where Bobby coached her to tell the police she was going to babysit Blake, but Jessie never dropped him off. So was he crazy, or was that all premeditated? Because he made the phone call and left the message saying, why didn't you drop him off the day before? And now he's telling you to tell, like, yes.
I don't know. I don't even know what to say.
Well, when that, quote, friend took her back home, he conveniently stuck around while a sheriff then showed up and asked Maisha questions. And then she returned to Bobby's until she needed to go to work for the midnight shift at Denny's.
Well, yeah, that's a really important shift for a Denny's.
Yeah.
Like the only time to go to Denny's.
Jessie Davis's mother, Patricia Porter, last talked to Jessie on June 13th around 9 p.m. During that conversation, Jessie told her that Bobby would be picking Blake up that evening when he was out at the sports bar and going to another girlfriend's house, and that he would be keeping Blake through the following day on the 14th. When Patricia could not reach Jessie the next day on the 14th, she assumed Jessie was resting and that she would just talk to her the next day. So, early the morning of the 15th, Patricia tried calling Jessie again, but still got no answer. Though Jessie was supposed to drop Blake off at Patricia's house at their usual time of 7 a.m. So she just waited. But Jessie never showed up. So Patricia and her other daughter, Audrey, went over to Jessie's house where they found the back sliding glass door unlocked.
Oh.
When they entered, they saw the contents of Jessie's purse dumped on the floor. And when they began calling for Jessie, Blake ran into the kitchen in a very dirty diaper. And when she asked where Mommy is, Blake responded, "Mommy is crying. Mommy broke the table. Mommy is in the rug." That man never went back for his son. He left his son there for a whole nother 24 hours before he was found. Patricia ran upstairs searching the home to no avail, but found her bedroom mattress partially knocked off the box spring, a table and lamp knocked over, bleach stains on the floor, and the burgundy comforter missing from the bed. Patricia called 911 while Audrey, Jessie's sister, called Bobby. Police and Bobby showed up quickly, and after speaking with Patricia and Audrey, the officer spoke to Blake, who told him, "Mommy is at work. Mommy's crying. Mommy is in the rug. Mommy broke the table." These were not answers to questions, but things Blake just kept repeating.
Yeah.
Finally, Blake said, "Daddy's mad." And when the officer asked why Daddy's mad, Blake just kept saying, "Daddy's mad. Daddy's mad." The officers asked Bobby to meet them at the station for further questioning, but many reports state that he wasn't a suspect, and he actually carried on for 9 days helping with the search.
Oh my God.
On June 23rd of 2007, he and his attorney walked into the FBI office and informed investigators that he would take them to the location of Jessie's body. After driving around the area for nearly 2 hours, he was finally able to get them there. They found her 40 or 50 feet down an embankment in the Hampton Hills Park of the Cuyahoga Falls Valley Parks, which is a very popular hiking spot, like I said. Needless to say, Bobby was immediately arrested. And on August 23rd of 2007, a grand jury indicted Bobby on 7 counts. 1 count of aggravated murder in the death of Jessie Davis, 1 count of aggravated murder for the unlawful termination of Jessie's pregnancy, 1 count of aggravated murder of a viable unborn child, 1 count of burglary, 2 counts of gross abuse of a corpse, and 1 count of child endangering for leaving Blake alone for 24 hours.
Absolutely.
The trial then began on February 4th, 2007. The state showed motive by walking the jury through Bobby's financial situation, showing just how much more he would be on the hook once Chloe was born and once Kelly divorced him. They called multiple witnesses to the stand to show the timeline of events, including his girlfriends and his ex-wife, Kelly. And despite Kelly testifying to all of his infidelities and admitting that he had not been paying child support for their daughter, Brianna, and she even paid $500 towards his car loan, she still claimed he was a good father and financially responsible for all of his children. But his first ex, Nikki Giavasis,
the influencer,
would probably disagree. It turned out that they were in the middle of a custody battle over their then 9-year-old daughter, Taylor. See, Nikki had moved across the country, but had always sent their daughter for arranged visitation, as well as allowed phone and email contact until January 17th of 2007, so just about 6 months before all this took place. She suddenly requested a suspension of his rights, citing, quote, evidence of physical and emotional abuse perpetrated on the child.
Oh my gosh.
Taylor had stayed with Bobby for a time in April of 2006, and then from June to December of 2006. And when she returned home to her mother for Christmas of that year, she told her mother that he would often hit or threaten her, but would always then laugh it off, saying he was just kidding or messing around.
It's not funny.
Mm-hmm. She also stated that he had at some point told her that she would one day work as a Las Vegas stripper.
She's 9. Well, she was less than 9.
Yeah, she was like 8 or 9 at the time.
I have an 8-year-old nephew and a 7-year-old niece. I can't imagine looking at either of those children and saying something like that. Because they're children.
Yes. The California judge that Nikki petitioned had already granted the suspension, and then a case of custody was brought to Ohio Family Court. But once Bobby faced murder charges, Ohio Judge David Stuckey dismissed the case, of course.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, this isn't necessary. Like, he's not going to have custody of this kid. Like,
yeah.
Open, shut, done.
Yes. Weirdly, this is the only indication that Bobby had a temper or potential for violence, though. Supposedly. All of his girlfriends and ex-wife testified that he had never been abusive or violent in their relationships, and his work record only showed that he would sometimes go from being a great cop to being a sloppy one.
Okay. Well, I think I have some other proof of violence, though. Jessie.
It's always a first. Unfortunately, there was no definitive physical evidence to go on because Jessie's body laid in the park for 9 days in warm June weather, which caused such bad decomposition that the medical examiner was unable to determine a cause of death.
Yeah, it's circumstantial evidence for sure. It's he said, she said.
Mm-hmm. So it, just as you said, it was truly his word against like the little bit of discrepancies that Maisha testified to. It's either, was it a complete accident?
Yeah.
Or did he strangle Jessie?
So they can't get him for murder.
Well, this is my opinion, but it's difficult for me to believe that a trained cop of at least 4 or 5 years would panic to the point of making absolutely ridiculous decisions like this. But again, playing devil's advocate, trying to look at it from both sides. When you throw in the drinking, the lack of sleep, the stress of life falling apart, who knows? I guess anything's possible.
I'm not saying that.
That's fine. Like I said,
I'm not going to do it. I can't not do it. No.
But either way, ultimately, the jury found him guilty. But on count 1, which was aggravated murder of Jessie Davis, they only found him guilty of the lesser included offense of murder, not aggravated murder.
Which I understand. I mean, I don't like it because I wish that it was, obviously, I wish that it was aggravated, but that's the way that our justice system is set up. It is set up this way for a reason.
Yes. So counts 2 through 7, they found him guilty as charged. The court then held a separate mitigation phase of the trial as the death penalty was a possibility. And at the conclusion, the jury recommended Bobby Lee Cutts Jr. be sentenced to life in prison with parole eligibility after 30 years for the 2 counts related to the death of Chloe, his unborn child. The judge accepted, but merged the offenses for purposes of sentencing and ultimately sentenced Bobby to 57 years to life.
Okay.
So rather than getting parole at 30 years, he'd have to wait 57 years. In April of 2008, Bobby appealed to the Ohio Court of Appeals, and they said, No. In September of 2009, he appealed to that affirmation to the Ohio Supreme Court, to which they said, we don't want to hear you.
No.
Bobby then appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, and they said, ain't nobody got time for that.
We have to worry about taking away rights.
Yes. We are very busy. In May of 2011, he petitioned for a right of habeas corpus. In case you're unfamiliar, this literally translated means produce the body. And no, we aren't referring to the dead body.
No, that's not what it means, but we're a little bit dramatic in the legal industry, if you haven't noticed. We like Latin, and we like to be like, so, Your Honor. In Canada.
I just envision if you were allowed to go to court, you showing up in a white wig.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you got where I was going with that. In Canada, they call them your worshipfulness.
Oh, wow.
And I die every time because one of my best friends works in. She's a court scheduler.
Does she get to wear a wig?
No. She doesn't actually go to court. She does court. Well, she does, but it's
different.
No,
Yeah,
she doesn't.
I know.
But they have a fish in their office named His Worshipfulness. And I think it's the best.
That is. Or it's insulting. I don't know.
I don't know. And I don't think it's insulting, but
yeah. Funny though. Okay, so the habeas corpus, it basically is a petition demanding that a valid reason be shown for that individual's detention, or rather it disputes the legal basis for their confinement. I'm going to try and break down the grounds for each of his arguments, and then give you what the judge who reviewed it recommended, and ultimately the federal court's decision. So number 1, first argument was insufficient evidence to support his conviction. And they said, no. There was sufficient evidence.
Yeah, there was, definitely.
Number 2, he claimed it was evident that the jury had been exposed to pretrial publicity. And they said no. They determined that the state court followed federal law on selecting the jury.
And
that's the best they can do.
Also, you ain't that famous. You're not that important.
It was a big case, like, around that area. Okay. So, I mean, it wasn't like, I don't think it was a big case nationwide, but yeah, it was a big case in that area. And because she was pregnant,
that makes sense.
The media, of course, ran with the whole comparison to, like, Lacey Peterson kind of thing, even though Lacey was different because this was a girlfriend and whatever. But they ran with it because that's sensational, right? So, number 3, he argued that his Sixth Amendment rights were violated when the court failed to excuse a juror who had participated in the search for Jessie. The court did leave this open for further appeal, but denied this claim in this instance on the basis that the state court had followed federal law and Bobby failed to show that she was biased, because at this point it's up to him to show that she showed bias. Number 4, Bobby claimed his due process rights were violated when the judge failed to instruct the jury of the lesser charge of involuntary manslaughter. The federal court found that he did not follow state procedural rules when he neglected to make his claim in the state court, and therefore he is barred from doing so in this petition.
Yeah, that's not how this works.
Number 5, his Sixth Amendment rights were violated again when the court refused to expand the pool of possible jurors to include those who are not just registered to vote, but just have a driver's license. Because in Ohio, at least at the time, the only way you got called to jury duty is if you were registered to vote and had a legal driver's license. So he said, that's unfair. Now, the implication for that is that the jury selection was affected in the way that it ended up that his jury was an all-white jury. But the burden falls on Bobby in this petition to show that the jury was impartial.
Yeah, I mean, just saying that you could have had a wider selection to choose from doesn't mean that the jury that you ended up with would have A, been any different, or B, was bad at being a jury.
And while, you can question how do you end up with an all-white jury when roughly 20% of Canton's population was black at the time, but he didn't meet the burden of showing the impartiality. And honestly, after all, they gave you a lesser charge on the one count. So, I mean,
he had a very fair verdict. Yeah.
It didn't sound like they were, and he could have gotten the death penalty.
Yeah.
And they said no. So,
No, he's just grasping at straws. I personally think that the verdict was very fair.
Yes.
Given everything that they had.
Yeah. Same. Number 6, he said that his rights were violated when he was denied access to the grand jury testimony. So the court responded that the Ohio Supreme Court had followed the federal court system, adopting a, quote, particular need test for grand jury materials.
Yeah, like, why do you need it?
Bobby did not request a pretrial disclosure of the testimony. The state did their part by identifying all of the witnesses, and Bobby's investigator had the opportunity to speak with the witnesses before the trial. So, no.
No.
They say no. Number 7, he said that his rights were violated when the court allowed hearsay evidence.
No.
Rolling my eyes. Judge Burke obviously pointed out the fact that you didn't make any objections at the time during the trial.
Yeah.
So, therefore, you are procedurally barred from making the argument through these petitions.
No.
Number 8, his rights were supposedly violated when the court allowed, quote, irrelevant and inflammatory character evidence. Well, the federal judge found that Bobby failed to use federal law when making this argument in his previous appeals. He had only used an Ohio rule of evidence. So his failure to alert the state courts of this federal claim procedurally barred him from doing so in this petition, because that's how the system works. I have no idea. This is the only way that I feel bad for him, really, in any way, is that, like, it sounds like he either had a really crappy appeals attorney,
Yeah.
or he's trying to do this stuff himself or something. I don't even know, which, don't ever do appeals work yourself. Like,
No,
that's
it's very like technical and very intricate.
Yeah,
so
there's so many rules to it that
yeah, like having to object during the trial for most
Yeah.
of these things. Like, you have to say from the beginning, like, this isn't okay, or we're not comfortable with it. If you don't, correct me if I'm wrong, unless you have proof that it has since come out that the item was inappropriate
I
or
think
out
so.
of line, you would have to provide that proof that it has come to light after the fact.
yes.
Otherwise, you can't object to it later.
I
It would
belie-
just draw out trials forever.
Yeah, I believe you are correct. You are correct, sir. Okay. Number 9, we're almost through this, I swear.
Okay.
Number 9, he claimed that his rights were violated by the court failing to merge his sentences because the convictions were allied offenses,
But no.
which, according to uslegal.com, I just thought their breakdown was simpler.
Okay.
Are crimes with elements so similar to those of another that the commission of the one is automatically the commission of the other. Meaning he killed the mom, therefore the baby is dead.
But didn't the judge merge his...
No, that's why he got 57 to life instead of...
Yeah, but but he didn't get life and life. He didn't get two
Yes,
life
that's
sentences.
true. Yeah.
You specifically said the word
Yes,
merged.
Yeah, you're right.
So what
You're
is
right.
he even
I'm sorry.
saying? No, it's confusing.
This is part of why I feel like, did you do this yourself? Yeah. Of course, as you just said, this is a silly argument. And he was disbarred from it because, or he was disbarred. He was.
You cannot practice law.
You are not allowed to practice law, which
You're not.
if you did this yourself, you should not be allowed. Anyway, once again, in his first appeals, he had only talked about state law. He never brought the federal law
Which is
or argument into play. Therefore, you are doing what they call procedurally defaulting, waiving any right. Okay. Last, final thing. His rights were violated when the court failed to dismiss the capital specifications to the indictment. I didn't even find where they addressed this at all.
they were like, that's so dumb, we're not even going to talk about it.
It doesn't matter.
The thing
doesn't
with
matter.
appeals is it has to have drastically changed the outcome of the trial
Yes.
for it to matter.
Yes.
None
So-
of this does. This was a circumstantial case. at worst, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
no, it was highly circumstantial because, like I said, the only physical evidence is the scene, but because she obviously was killed in a way that wasn't like, I mean, yes, there were bleach stains, so maybe there was some blood somewhere, but he also had the bite on his finger, so that could have been his blood, and he was just trying to get rid of anything like that. There was obviously like some sort of struggle in the room, but there wasn't any definitive physical evidence.
But my thing is, what's bugging me the most is two things. Number one, he didn't say he didn't kill her.
No, he still claims that it's an accident.
He claims that it's an accident. You have somebody else saying that it wasn't an accident. Why on earth would his friend of 30, years or however long, not 30, but
yeah,
over a decade, over 2 decades, say it wasn't an accident if she really didn't think that? Secondly, I'm going to say I don't love the phrase highly circumstantial because to me, that has the connotation of like, there's not a ton of evidence either direction. And we're just basing it off a story. We're not basing it off a story. He admitted to killing her. He's saying it was an accident. Then his friend is saying that it was a murder. It's not a highly circumstantial case. It's a case of I killed this person. It's a question of how I killed her or why I killed her. It's a question of motive. It's not a question of what ended up happening. So all of these appeals are completely fruitless to me. You're in jail for murder. They did you the favor of not saying it was aggravated murder. I think that they did it right.
Yeah. Well, he's still there.
Well, yeah, good.
He'll remain there until at least 57 years is up. Well, just to give you some updates. Because we all like to hear, where did everyone end up?
Yeah.
I don't know that this will make anybody feel any better.
Oh, no. Because I feel really icky. This case is horrible. And like we had to joke a lot to get through it because I genuinely thought I was going to cry or throw up.
Yeah. So, Patricia, Jessie's mom, and has custody of Blake.
Okay.
I didn't write any of this in my notes, so I'm going off the top of my head. My apologies if I get a little fumbled with my words.
Okay.
But Patricia has forgiven Bobby. She's like 100%. Like, she wants him to get parole. She has forgiven him. She has made sure that Blake eventually, when Blake was ready, that he went and visited. Blake remembers what happened. He wasn't asleep. He saw it. And he actually at some point wrote Bobby a letter years ago, obviously now, saying, basically, like, I love you, you're my dad, but I'm really mad at you. Like, I'm really mad at you. I don't understand why you did what you did.
Yeah.
But he eventually went on to go visit him and build some sort of relationship. I have no idea about his older daughters. I don't believe that Taylor Giavasis has anything to do with him, I'm sure. Brianna is in Kelly's daughter. I have no idea. Based on the testimony of Kelly in the court, my guess is he probably has some sort of relationship with her, but I don't know. But Patricia, like, supports Bobby. She thinks that he's changed a lot in prison. She's forgiven him, and she would like to see him get paroled.
That's interesting.
Yes.
I mean, the only thing about it that I'm thinking about now is you said there wasn't a ton of proof of violence prior. I just don't even know.
His family, friends, everybody seemed in shock that this would happen.
It's a lot. I mean, it's a lot to process. I can see, like, it's such a tough case. Like,
yeah. So it is. I mean,
I still think he did it. I don't want to say, like, I mean, I still think it was intentional.
And I think you need to serve jail time regardless, because even if you did kill her accidentally, like we said, you could have saved the baby. You could have done. Yeah. You still committed crimes.
You're still here. But I still think it was intentional. I'm not going to lie to you based on everything. I don't think that Maisha has any reason to lie about that.
Yeah,
I
and I
don't-
don't think it was premeditated or anything.
Yeah, I can see what you're
I
saying.
don't think that there was really any evidence to indicate. Yes, he was stressed about finances and whatnot. Maybe don't go out drinking with friends
I don't know, man.
instead to save some money. But or I don't know.
I don't even know how to wrap this up. I mean, again, I want to end by saying that like all of our, laughing to get through this and
Yeah.
creating banter and comedy to talk about it is in no means ever meant to be disrespectful towards the victims. And if it like it's just this is hard.
Yeah.
But it's
Sorry. I'm always so good at picking.
That's
picking the
okay.
good
We have a good
cases.
balance. But it's a good case to talk about. It's an interesting case, especially the merging of the sentences. It's a good case for us to cover on burden of proof because of the way that we do true crime. And you love circumstantial cases, so this is your jam.
I do.
If you made it all the way to the end, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to listen to that. But thank you.
But thanks. We love you.
Thank you so much.
And hopefully we'll see you with something a little lighter next week. I don't know what's coming next, but fingers crossed it's not Mommy's in the Rug. So that's the one that did me in.
Yeah, I know. I was proud of myself. I got through
You
it.
did.
And then I looked up at you and I'm like, ah, crap.
Yeah, we had to take a second there, but
It's the first out of like the last 3
Mhm.
episodes I've recorded that I made it through and I wasn't going to cry. And then you started
Sorry.
tearing up. Thanks. No,
You're welcome.
I'm just kidding. Anyway.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. Yeah, I don't ever promise that we'll try and find things lighter because
Well,
I'm
yeah.
never making that. That's Savannah.
I
She'll
love-
find
I will.
funny cases or lighter things. I don't know. I just find things and go, ooh, that's good. Like in this case, I forgot about it. I knew about it from when I lived in Ohio.
No, it's a great case.
And it stood out to me because like my oldest child was born in 2007.
Yeah.
And this happened just months after she was born. I was like, oh, I don't want to hear about that. I just had a baby, like
Yeah.
it was very sensitive. I was a brand new mom. But also it fascinated me, like, how does somebody who's a police officer claim that they freaked out and did all these things? And I know I'm not going to say that can't happen, but we all know police officers are trained to handle super stressful situations. And I know maybe a little different when it's your personal business,
Yeah.
but it's just really like, the law, what was going to happen.
And-
Like what? Sir, I don't know, but I hope he has changed and has like
I don't know how to feel.
found some kind of redemption.
Mm.
I'm just saying, I hope. Am I skeptical?
Yes.
Maybe a little bit, but
We'll talk about vampires or something next week. I don't know. We love a good vampire case. We've done a lot of vampire cases.
there's so many.
There are so many delusional vampires. I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah.
So you made it. We made it. We survived.
Good job. Good
Thumbs up.
listening, everybody.
Thumbs up.
Thanks.
And we will talk to you next week.
Till next time.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, guys. Find us on Instagram and TikTok at Burden of Proof Pod and email us at burdenofproofpod@gmail.com.